Love on the Amalfi Coast. The golden sun hung low in the sky, casting a soft, warm glow over the Amalfi Coast. The rugged cliffs seemed to rise straight out of the crystal-clear waters, dotted with colorful houses that clung to the rocks as if nature had painted them into place. The air was filled with the scent of lemon trees, the salty breeze, and the distant hum of life on the Mediterranean. Sophia stood on a quiet terrace overlooking the sea, her sketchbook resting in her hands, trying to capture the breathtaking scene before her. She had come to Italy to escape the noise of her life in Paris, where everything had been moving too fast. As an art student, Sophia had been consumed by her studies and overwhelmed by the pressures of the city. But it wasn't just the work, it was also the heartbreak. A relationship she had poured her soul into had ended abruptly, leaving her feeling adrift and unsure of herself. When her professor suggested she spend the summer in Italy, she couldn't resist the idea of leaving it all behind to rediscover her passion for painting and perhaps find herself again. Sophia's sketchbook was filled with half-drawn landscapes, scattered thoughts, and ideas that didn't seem to fit together anymore. She sighed and closed it, leaning against the stone railing. The beauty of the Amalfi Coast was undeniable, yet somehow it felt distant, like a dream she couldn't fully immerse herself in. Just as she was about to leave the terrace, a voice interrupted her thoughts. "Beautiful, isn't it?" a man's voice said, with a hint of an Italian accent. Sophia turned to see a tall, dark-haired man standing behind her. He was casually dressed in a light linen shirt, and his tan skin suggested he had spent many hours under the Mediterranean sun. There was an easy, confident smile on his face, but his eyes were warm and kind. "Very beautiful," she replied, though her voice was quiet, still lost in her own thoughts. "I'm Luca," the man said, extending a hand. "I run the olive grove just up the hill." Sophia shook his hand, surprised by the strength and warmth in his grip. "Sophia, I'm an artist." "Well, trying to be anyway." Luca chuckled, leaning against the railing beside her. "Trying? From the looks of that sketchbook, I'd say you already are one." Sophia smiled politely, though she wasn't convinced. "It's not coming together the way I hoped. I thought being here, surrounded by all this beauty, would inspire me. But, I don't know. Something's missing." Luca nodded as if he understood perfectly. Sometimes, when you're surrounded by too much beauty, it's hard to know where to start. But maybe you're looking at it the wrong way. Sophia raised an eyebrow, curious. "The wrong way?" Luca smiled and gestured towards the sea. "You see this view every day, and it's incredible. But sometimes it's not about what you see. It's about what you feel. The colors, the light, the smells. You can't capture it all with your eyes alone. You have to live it, breathe it." Sophia looked at him thoughtfully. His words made sense, but she wasn't sure how to apply them to her work. "How do you live it, then?" Luca grinned, a mischievous glint in his eyes. "Come with me. I'll show you." Curiosity piqued, Sophia followed Luca down the winding cobblestone streets of the small village. They passed charming cafes, where locals sipped espresso and chatted, and vibrant markets filled with fresh produce and handmade goods. Eventually, they reached Luca's olive grove, a sprawling expanse of trees that seemed to go on forever, stretching towards the horizon. "Here it is," Luca said, spreading his arms wide. This is my life. Sophia took in the scene. The olive trees were ancient and twisted, their leaves shimmering in the afternoon light. The air was rich with the earthy scent of olives and the distant hint of the sea. It was peaceful, quiet, and for the first time in weeks, Sophia felt a sense of calm wash over her. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Luca smiled. "You see, it's not about the perfect view. It's about finding beauty in the small things, the everyday moments. That's where the real magic is." Sophia sat down on the grass, feeling the cool earth beneath her. She pulled out her sketchbook and began to draw. Not the grand, sweeping landscapes of the coast, but the small, intricate details of the olive grove. The way the leaves caught the sunlight, the gentle curve of the branches, the texture of the soil. For the first time in a long while, she wasn't thinking about how her art would look. She was simply enjoying the process. Luca sat beside her, watching quietly. He didn't say much, but his presence was comforting, grounding. There was something about him that made Sophia feel at ease, as if they had known each other far longer than just a few hours. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the grove, Sophia looked up from her sketchbook, feeling a sense of contentment she hadn't experienced in months. "Thank you," she said, turning to Luca. "I think I needed this." Luca smiled, his dark eyes twinkling in the fading light. Sometimes, all it takes is a little reminder to slow down and appreciate the moment. Over the next few weeks, Sophia and Luca spent more time together, wandering through the village, exploring hidden paths along the coast, and talking for hours about life, art, and everything in between. Slowly but surely, Sophia began to feel a shift within herself. Her heart, once heavy with doubt and sadness, felt lighter. Her art, too, began to change. Her sketches became more vibrant, more alive, as if they were infused with the joy she was rediscovering. One evening, as they watched the sunset from the terrace, Luca turned to Sophia and said, "So, are you ready to go back to Paris?" Sophia hesitated, the question lingering in the air. Paris had always been her dream, her goal, but now, she wasn't so sure. The Amalfi Coast had given her something she hadn't realized she was missing. A sense of peace, of belonging. And Luca had become a part of that, too. "I don't know," she admitted. "I love Paris, but here, everything feels different, simpler, happier." Luca smiled softly, understanding. "You don't have to decide now. But remember, happiness isn't about where you are. It's about who you are and what you make of the moment." Sophia nodded, taking in his words. She realized that, for the first time in a long time, she wasn't running away from something or chasing after a goal she wasn't sure she wanted. She was simply living, basking in the beauty of the present, just as Luca had taught her. As the last rays of sunlight disappeared behind the horizon, Sophia reached for Luca's hand, feeling the warmth of his fingers intertwine with hers. Whether she stayed or returned to Paris, one thing was certain. She had found something here on the Amalfi Coast that would stay with her forever: love. Not just for someone else, but for herself, her art, and the life she was creating. And that was more than enough.
Thank you for listening. Like, subscribe, and share our channel Magic Mingle with your friends to enjoy more magical stories.